This is a post of a session Michelle is doing with a puppy right now. Right?
Oh, okay.
And this was just a little clip that we posted, like 60 seconds long. And it's kind of been popping off. It's got almost 100,000 views and stuff like that.
Okay.
And it's really good, right? So the title of this is Using the Crate to Create Structure with Your Puppy. So let's watch it, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit.
All right. Give it to me.
Philosophy with puppies in the crate is that the default is they're in the crate, and if they're not in the crate, you have to give me a really good reason why. Really good reasons why qualify as they're eating, they're going for a walk, we're doing training, they're actively playing, or they're intentionally out of the crate because we're settling together and we're teaching you how to relax with the family while we watch a movie or a TV show. If you are not directly interacting with your dog for an intentional purpose, they should not be loose. Because at this age, there's no productivity in that whatsoever. It just sets them up to have way too much freedom too fast, and that can start to compound on the behaviors you're starting to see where she's getting a little bit too big for her britches. And a lot of her aggression that you're seeing when she's sleeping, she might just be overexhausted, overstimulated, and be like, I'm done, everyone leave me alone. And that could very well be just because she doesn't feel like she has somewhere that she can just get away and decompress. Puppies at her age, they sleep like 20 hours a day.
Okay. So solid post, right?
Yeah.
So this is something that stirred up quite a bit of debate in the comment section, right?
Really?
And I would say the vast majority of the comments are people saying, I did this with my puppy. It helped so much. It helped my dog to, 1, really enjoy their crate. It helped 2, to make sure that we got past housebreaking issues and stuff like that really quick, because obviously we use the crate as the place where the dog generally won't go to the bathroom, so that they don't rehearse going to the bathroom in the house all the time.
Yeah.
3, they're sleeping all the time anyways, and, you know, when they are tired, they generally get cranky, kind of like children. And it's like, they're like children from the sense of, like, when they get tired, they get more agitated to try to keep themselves awake and more antsy and more annoying and stuff like that, right? So it helped prevent a lot of that kind of stuff. And 3, when your dog is out of the crate, especially if we're not supervising them, that is prime time when dogs learn bad behavioral issues in the first place.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
The more opportunity they have to be out, the more opportunity there is for them to rehearse things. And by implementing this protocol and having the dog out, obviously, but making sure it's only when we're able to directly supervise them, we're intentionally doing something with them, we're teaching them to chill, something like that. Sometimes they never learn these bad behavioral issues in the first place, right?
Yeah.
So that was, like, I would say 50% of the comments. Maybe like 30% of the comments was the other side of the spectrum, which is, well, this is just teaching people to just... Well, one of the comments in particular on it was like...
Oh, boy.
Hold on, let me find it. I don't know if I can... Here we go. Yeah. I used to think this way, too. In reality, it's a great way to have a dog with no off switch. Puppy-proof your house. Stuff like that. Right? So people just saying that you're teaching people to over-crate their dogs, and, you know, then and then some of the other comments were like, oh, so what do you want us to just keep the dog in the crate 24/7, things like that? And it's like, well, that's actually not what we said at all in the video, because we listed off about 25 different places to have the dog out of the crate.
Did you listen to that video?
And then the other 20% of the people, I would say, were basically just asking questions of like, okay, well, when do I phase away from this, right? So what I want to do is I want to take some time to kind of elaborate on this post a little bit. And I'm not going to speak for Michelle, because again, she, I'm sure, has her own takes and opinions on all this kind of stuff. But I'm going to look at this on how I would answer some of those types of questions and just react to the video as a whole. So first off, like I said, phenomenal advice. This is something that the advice I don't see given out enough, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times I see, you know, puppy advice is solely like socializing the puppy and doing training and this and that. But in actuality, people don't realize how much goes into just living with your puppy early on in things, right? Now, getting to the first part of the conversation, which is overcrating, right? I think one of the missing pieces here of this conversation is just the fact that we're specifying really young dogs, right?
Yeah.
We're talking when you bring your 8-week-old puppy home, your 10-week-old puppy, your 12, 14, 16-week-old puppy, right? We're talking like the first month or so that you have your puppy home.
Yeah.
This is a very important protocol to implement with them, right? Those dogs are learning everything about what they're going to be able to get away with, what they're not going to be able to get away with, what's expected of them, what's not expected of them, all that kind of stuff in the house for the first 4 to 6 weeks. And I would even go as far as say, not even just puppies. If you adopt a new dog, you could implement a very similar protocol with them to make sure that you put them in a position to succeed. You make sure that they're not in a position to rehearse all of these unwanted behaviors all the time. Yeah. And you could teach them the ropes of the house and then slowly start to give them more and more freedom. Yeah. Right? So the argument that they're trying to say is by teaching them that there's no off switch. So what they're saying with that, and they're not totally wrong with this, but I'll explain how it doesn't apply to this situation. So what they're implying is that by overcrating the dog and only taking the dog out when you are intentionally working with them, so you take them out for a training session, right? You take them out for some play outside. You take them out to go for a walk. You take them out to play with the kids, anything like that. You are teaching the dog that when we come out of the crate, get really amped up because something fun is going to happen, right? And they're not wrong with that. One of the biggest techniques that used to be utilized a lot in the sport dog world, and I think still is to some extent, is what we call social isolation, right? Okay. So basically what that means is the dog is crated all the time, and the dog only comes out when they're going to work for like a week, right? And what happens is every time the dog comes out, it's their only chance to go fucking crazy, get the energy out, engage with us, stuff like that. So it makes them crave it more and more and more and create this association that you come out of the crate, be fucking on. Yeah. Right? Here is why that doesn't apply in this situation. That doesn't apply in this situation because, one, in the cases with an older dog or a working dog that you might be doing that, when you put the dog in the crate, they're not tired. They want to be out already, and they're craving to be out, right? With puppies, because they genuinely are sleeping for like 20 hours of the day, you put them in there. They might be displeased that you're putting them in there, but they're going to fall asleep pretty quickly because they need to be sleeping in those early stages with things, right? So you're not like holding them back per se, is forcing them into that state of rest that they need to be in anyways, like biologically, right? The second reason that doesn't apply is because Michelle specifically stated that one of the times that you should be taking your dog out is in situations where you are intentionally teaching them to relax. So the time we're taking them out is not always high energy play. It should be some high energy play, some eating and training. It should be some just relaxing and doing nothing. We used to talk about with Waffles when we were filming the podcast. I would back tie him to that table over there, and he would learn to just do absolutely nothing, right? That was an intentional time I was taking out. That's a situation like she described. And that was an hour to an hour and a half that he learned being out and doing absolutely nothing, aka an off switch, right? So that doesn't apply to this situation. You're taking it a little bit too extreme when you're going that route, right? Now, again, as you deal with older dogs, you do want to be careful to not overcrate too much, obviously. But any of this, like, this gets to the next question, which is like, how long do we do this for, right? When do we start to wean off of that? It shouldn't be forever, right? This shouldn't be you're doing this for 6 months of the dog's life, where the dog is in the crate for 15 hours a day, 20 hours a day, whatever it may be, right? Yeah. It should be for the first couple weeks when you bring the puppy home, and then we start to transition to giving them more and more and more and more freedom as we start to establish the skills that we need to give them the freedom, right? Because here's the thing, right? If I get a new puppy and I start giving them a lot of freedom really quickly, but I don't have the training or the communication established to guide their behavior effectively, what's going to happen is the dog is going to rehearse unwanted behaviors. There's nothing that we can do about it. And then they start learning bad habits and developing poor behavior when they're out of the crate. Yeah. Where if in the first week or two, they're only out when we're training, I focus on teaching the ability to tell the dog yes and no. I start patterning in some calmness in situations like that. And then I start extending that from maybe an hour of them out of the crate to 2 hours out of the crate, right? 2 hours out of the crate to 2.5 hours out of the crate. Yeah. When they inevitably try to do something wrong, like one time we were up here, Waffles tried to like chew on the thing or something like that, right? I'm able to intervene and stop it and communicate with him. That's something we don't want. And then as he learns from that and he doesn't do those things anymore, I can continue extending that time more and more and more and more, right? Yep. So the short answer is this is something something you do while you're establishing the skills you need to give the dog more freedom out of the crate.
Yeah.
Right? Then the other answer to that question is you give them more freedom when they earn the freedom.
Yeah.
Right? So I look at with younger dogs or a new dog I'm bringing into the house, privileges we might give them, like being out of the kennel, like sleeping in the bedroom with us, like any of those types of things, as privileges they could earn through showing us that when we leave them out for extended periods of time, that they don't make incorrect choices because we've guided their behavior, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So crate time, right? Things like that, back ties, like I used to do with Waffles a lot, stuff like that. They're management techniques, right? They're management techniques while you're working through the training process, and that's the missing link people obviously like aren't getting.